Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. This one will be about the full DPS Reaper build for World vs World, and let's get into it. Okay, let's start from the build. We run Spite, Soul Reaping and Reaper, of course. Here on Spite we take this skill since we run this trait, since we run the axe. Here Awaken the Pain for more power from might and less condition damage. We need power, it's the best trait of this column here. And then here we get Close to Death, which deal increased strike damage to enemies below the health threshold, meaning we will do free 20% more damage to enemies below 50% HP. The other traits are just not very good for the full DPS Zerker build of the Reaper. Then here I like soul marks because I run the staff, and I will explain later why. And this will make our marks unblockable, the skill 2, 3 and 4. And they also will give some life force, which is nice since the Reaper Shroud is our main tool to do damage. And then here we get the soul barbs. We get 10% more damage when we enter Shroud and 10% more damage when we leave Shroud. Of course, it's not stackable, but it's just refresh the duration, maximum 10 seconds. And then here, Death Perception, which gives us 15% critical chance increase all the time and 50% critical damage increase when we are in Shroud, meaning that our critical hits will do 15 more damage. Then on Reaper, you can use Chilling Nova, which is an AoE chill every 10 seconds. Or Relentless Pursuit, which is for the CC conditions. Maybe it's better for the survivability, but maybe you can also go Chilling Nova. It's up to you. If you see yourself struggling against Cripple, Chill, and Immobilize, you can go Relentless Pursuit, which is very good, very strong trait actually. And then here we have Soul Eater. We will do 10% more damage to melee enemies, and we will heal for some damage of, we do 5%. And then here we have our 300 ferocity, which means 20% more damage on our critical chance, since 15 ferocity is 1%. And also we will get permanent quickness. Every 3 seconds we get 3 seconds of quickness. And then we also get the Hitting with Life Rip reduces the recharge time of Shroud skills. The Life Rip is the third chain of the autoattack from the Reaper, from the Reaper Shroud. Now I will show you. I will go in combat and get some life force. Also, why do I run the staff? The staff is very strong in my opinion because the alternative is often the greatsword. But I don't like the greatsword because most of the time I am in Shroud while in melee, and when I am ranged the greatsword is useless. So just don't run the greatsword in my opinion. Also the staff has good skills. The skill 2 is a very low cooldown nuke, not very huge damage, but still it's also unblockable with the trait, and also will give you life force and will apply some regeneration on your allies if they are in the AoE. And also bleeding on the enemies. The skill 3 is a bit more damage compared to the skill 2. Also applies chill, which is a huge condition, poison, which reduces the heals from the enemies, and also of course is unblockable for the trait and gives life force. The skill 5 is an AoE fear, meaning you will fear your enemies like this. For 1 second you will remove 1 stack of stability or just interrupt them if they don't have stability. And also you will inflict shield, because when you fear the enemies you will also inflict chill. I don't remember where the trait is, but it's like that. And also now the skill 4, I skipped it for a reason, because it's the best skill for World vs World from the staff. And it's a huge damage skill, as you see, like this one is 300 and this one is 1300, and also transfers 3 condition from you to enemies, and is unblockable, and is a combo finisher blast if it hits an enemy. If you do it like this you won't blast anything, but if there is an enemy here you will blast. So it's good for the water field, the might field and so on. and I recommend using this to remove the blindness, because you will not waste this, because the transfer of the blindness will occur before the hit. So let's say you are blind here, you have blindness, you don't know how to remove it, you can choose if you use the skill 3 or 4. The skill 3 would be wasted because it would remove the blindness but would not hit. With this you will hit, because you will press this, it will apply the blindness and then the damage, and also the other 2 conditions. Then let's get into the Reaper Shroud. You see 1, 2 and 3. The third chain will reduce the cooldown from the other skills. So let's use this. You see 20%, 20 seconds. You see the cooldown going down because of the auto attacks. As utility skills, I use Your Soul is Mine because it's a very good damage AoE, low cooldown, very low cooldown, and it gives us some nice healing. You do more damage when melee, and also you get more life force when melee, and so it's a life force builder for us, and it's very strong in my opinion. It's better than this one, which is double the cooldown. Then Well of Suffering for the damage, unblockable AoE, the famous wells, and the Well of Corruptions. You need to get this because they are too strong to skip. Then usually on the third skill people run Nothing Can Save You, or maybe Signet of Spite, or maybe the Well of Darkness. I chose to go Spectral Armor because the Spectral Armor is a very strong utility, and I will explain why. Basically you get a permanent 6 second duration buff, which is not removable. I don't mean the protection, I mean the Spectral Armor. You press it and you can go Shroud, and you see it works even in Shroud, while the other sources of life force don't really work in Shroud. Like if you are in Shroud and you kill an enemy, you won't get the life force, otherwise you would be permanently in Shroud in War vs World, since you kill like 50 enemies in a fight. But this one will still work when in Shroud. So you are full Shroud, let's say you start the fight, you press this and this, then go Shroud. Actually, sorry, you should have pressed the Spectral Armor before going Shroud, and then the enemies will hit you, of course, and these hits will give you life force once per second, so meaning you will stay in Shroud for a lot of time compared to another build which doesn't run the Spectral Armor. Let's go again. You hit the enemy, you press all your skills like the wells and so on. Spectral Armor, go Shroud, you can hit them. So you see the enemy hit me, and I got some Shroud here from some life force. As utility skill, I run Shield to the Bones because the others are just bad. And also this one will give us quickness if we hit melee enemies. 6 seconds of quickness is huge. We also stun for 3 or 4 seconds. We also give shield to the enemies, and we also get some stability. It's a very nice shout actually, and the others are just bad. There is not a very good damage option for this build on the elite skills. You can maybe run Leech Form, but the auto attacks, which are the huge damage of it, are projectiles, and you can get them reflected or blocked by anything. So I wouldn't recommend in big fights to go Leech. If you are maybe 20, 15, you can go Leech in my opinion, but 30 more, no. Just run Shield to the Bone, which is a huge AoE stun. Then we run the Axe, of course, because the skill 2 is just too good. It's a huge damage, channel the huge damage on a single target, which is compared with the skill 5, it's basically a one-shot thingy. Like you do skill 5, removing 3 boons and shielding the enemies for 6 seconds, and then you have the skill 2 while they are chilled and slowed by the chill, and you finish them off with this. The skill 4 is that Shroud Recharger, and some damage, and also siphon heal, siphon damage. And the skill 3 is another use skill because it's AoE corrupt boon and also damage, and if you hit an enemy which is below the 50% health threshold, you will trigger another explosion which will hit 3 more targets. So you press this, you saw the second explosion, which does like the same damage as the first almost, and it will hit 3 targets. So if you hit with the Unholy Fist the 5 targets all below 50%, you will trigger 5 more little explosions of 3 targets each, meaning 15 more targets to hit. It's a huge skill. The secondary explosions will not remove any boons, but still it's a huge skill, like your best skill. Whenever you swap to the axe in combat during the fight, like you pressed every skill on your staff, you swap the weapons, the first skill you should press is Unholy Fist. It doesn't have a huge range, but it's still 600 radius around you, so it's not too bad, range wise of course. Then on the Shroud we have the autoattack, which is your best damage, and I would recommend to use it when you are in the Zerg. You do this and big damage. Then we have the skill 2, which is, I will show you very soon, is a leap. You go fast against the enemies and do damage on them, and at the end of this spin, of this leap actually, you will do a huge damage. It's not very reliable. I will recommend using it for downed players, or let's say this bear is a downed player, you use the skill 2 and you see the last hit will give a big damage. And also you should use it for your mobility, like to close the gaps from you to the enemies if needed, or from you to commander. If you are behind, you run back to commander with the skill 2. As you see, it's 8 strikes, which are low damage, and then the final strike is a huge damage. We use it for the last damage, of course, last strike, which is a bigger damage, and also for the mobility. Then the skill 3, we use it, is stability, and if we press it again, it will be an AoE fear, and also we get a buff when we'll get 20% less damage on us for the duration of this buff. Then the best skill of the Shroud, which is the skill 4, it's the classic spin to win, and you use it inside the enemy's zergs, and it's very good if the enemy is running, since you can just like they are chasing you, you press this, you can't auto attack and go behind, you can just press 4 and go in front. You just walk around from the enemies, and you press the skill 4, which is huge damage, as I will show you. And also the skill 4 will be recharged by the skill 1, the third chain, which I told you, the life rip, will recharge the other skills from the Shroud. And the skill 5 is a single target slow casted stun chill field, which I don't recommend using because it's a single target and it's slow as fuck, so just use the other skill if you have nothing to use. The skill 4 is a huge skill. Also it applies poison to the enemies, meaning they will get much less heal, like 33% if I remember, and yes, 30% more heals, and this applies also on the downed. So if you use it on a downed player and some guardians tries to revive him with the signet, it won't work because they don't need to have poison. And the skill 4 is most of the time top skill on your arc DPS, and together with the skill 4, the putrid mark, is oftentimes overlooked by the players, but it's oftentimes a huge damage dealer and the top 3 skills on your arc DPS, because when you are ranged, like against the enemy, most of the time the Reaper doesn't play the stuff. Most Reapers play the greatsword and they don't do damage from ranged, but with this you will deal huge damage with a pretty short cooldown, like 20 seconds is not too much. It's not best, but still it's not 40 seconds like the Dragon Hunters, and also it's unblockable, so like every Aegis won't work. I would recommend running the staff. And then the other skill, which is very important to hit, is the Well of Suffering. Make sure to hit the most enemies and make sure they are not running from it. Like if the enemy is running like me and you press the well, you will apply the first pulse and then the others will be lost. Make sure the enemies are stopped around and they stopped walking around, of course. So remember, every time you are inside the enemy Zerg and they are not moving, I would recommend using the skill 4. So and then you go the autoattacks, which will recharge the skill 4. And also the autoattacks are very overlooked most of the times, but they are huge damage. They will reduce the other cooldowns from the Shroud, and the damage is just too good. Like you just have to press 1 and you will rip any enemies on you. And let's see how much damage it deals. See, it's very good. The skill 4 is bigger damage, but you have to hit it all. So it's just better when you are moving, in my opinion, or when you don't have it on cooldown. Thank you for watching. I think I forgot the equipment. Okay, here we run a mix of Dragon, Berserker and Marauder with Mighty War vs Sword Infusion if you have them, if you have some laurels spare, and then Superior Rune of the Thief for the additional precision, so we can cap the critical chance with Fury. Of course, I don't have Fury right now, but it is 20%. Then Superior Sigil of Frenzy and Force. I love Frenzy on the axe because you will recharge your every skill by 2 seconds every 10 seconds, and this will work on the spectral armor and on the wells and on everything except the Reaper Shroud skills. Marauder, Staff Marauder, Superior Sigil of Force and of Cruelty. I once did the math. Cruelty should be better than Bloodlust because the power is already too high and it won't be worth to run Bloodlust. I don't remember the math, but I once did it and it was like this. Not very sure actually. Then we have the backpack, of course, Berserker, Marauder. This one is Dragon, the Dragon stats, which is a Marauder with less precision but more ferocity. And this one is Berserker. This is all for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you like this type of content, if you like my build, let me know in the comments, or maybe leave a like or subscribe or all of it. I will appreciate it. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video. Bye!